Here we have a 2016 Mini 3-door hardtop, and today's job is to replace the upper engine mount. The upper engine mount is a known point of failure on this generation of Minis, and you'll see them all over the forums. But you can also see that they can actually be done at home if you have basic DIY skills and the correct tools. Before you begin, make sure you have the right tools. You're going to need a Torx T30 driver, a 10mm socket, an 8mm socket for some plastic covering, and a Torx E11, E12, and E14 socket for removing the engine mount. I've also included a 13mm wrench to help remove the headlight bolts to avoid breaking the mounting clips. I placed the 13mm wrench at the back around the securing nut of each mounting clip to keep it in place while removing the screws. The screws are held very tightly with Loctite, and to avoid breaking it, you need to make sure the nut is held securely. After watching some videos, I learned it was recommended to replace the 3 main mounting bolts after removing. Apparently these bolts are not intended to be reused because they have a factory-coated adhesive to lock them in place. I didn't take the chance, so I ordered these as well as the OEM engine mount from Out Motoring. To help make the removal of the Torx bolt on the headlight easier, I used a 13mm wrench to firmly hold the securing nut in place. These nuts are held onto a clip, and if you don't keep those nuts in place, you risk breaking the clip, and that means an expensive part to replace for your lights. You can see the upper engine mount is located in the passenger side, up near the top. Here it has 3 Torx head bolts that hold the engine up, and it's secured to the side of the chassis. We're going to replace this today with an OEM part. The first step is to remove the headlight, which is held in by 4 bolts. 3 of them are Torx head, and 1 is a regular 10mm hex, located here, 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 and here. Once you've removed the headlight, you still need to remove the cable harness and connector. The cable harness is held to the side of the light through a little clip. Remove that gently using a flat screwdriver to avoid breaking it. The connector is held on by 2 tabs, 1 on each end. Simply push the tabs in at this location and the whole connector should just pop right out. With the headlight fully removed, we now have full access to the upper engine mount. The upper engine mount is held in place by 5 Torx bolts. 1 over here on the bottom, the 3 main bolts on the top, and then 1 on the back side right over here. Because of the interesting way the engine mount is holding the engine, the bolts are fastened from above, which means as soon as I loosen them, the engine is going to want to drop. So to prevent that, I gently placed a jack under the car to keep the engine from dropping too far, being careful not to put too much pressure on anything. After a bit of finagling, I managed to pull the old engine mount out. To make more room, I removed the tie wraps for this cable harness, which made pulling the engine mount out easier. These can be replaced with new black tie wraps. Also, you can clearly see there's a couple of mounts for pipes that snapped off during the process. I could replace them with a factory part. In this case, I'm just going to use heavy-duty tie wraps. From here you can clearly see the old and the new. I replaced it with an OEM part only. Didn't want to go fancy. After finessing the new engine mount in, you start with the 2 E14 bolts. The one on the top here, and then the one on the back side. We'll save the top 3 for last. After a bit of shimmying and shaking, I managed to get the center bolt lined up. I'll crank that up a little bit to make sure I feel confident that it's held in. After which, I'll sort of wiggle the engine around and the engine mount to make sure the other 2 bolts line up properly, tighten the whole thing up, and put the headlight back in again. Lessons learned? This project took about 2 hours, give or take. Make sure you use the right tools. Have them all on hand. I mentioned them already. Do not try to use a 6-sided socket on a Torx headed bolt. These bolts are very tight and you will ruin them. I purchased this engine mount off the internet through Out Motoring, but at the end, after brokerage and duties, I did not save any money. Just go to your local Mini dealer to get them. You will save money on labor. I saved about $700 compared to what the dealership was going to charge me, and it wasn't that challenging. I do have basic mechanical skills, If you do too, go for it. Thanks for watching.